Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about part two of this topic of energy, work, and power. And we're going to talk about forms of energy or the different types of energy. Now, energy can exist in several different forms. And here are some examples. Sounds have sound energy. Anything that's hot have heat energy. Anything that produces light have light energy. And then energy that is inside the nucleus of atoms. So atoms, inside it, there's nucleus. And in the nucleus, there is something that's called nuclear energy. And number five, there's also something called kinetic energy. I'm going to talk about kinetic energy first. So, what is this energy? Kinetic energy is a more scientific name for movement energy. So, when you were in year 7 or year 8 or even in the primary school, this energy is called movement energy. Now that you have grown up and a bit more wiser, we're going to use the scientific name for movement, and that is kinetic. So, kinetic is just another name for movement. Kinetic energy is the energy that a body possesses due to its motion or movement. So, if anything has movement, that we say it has kinetic energy. A ball rolling, a moving bus, all of these have kinetic energy. Kinetic energy can be calculated using the formula, this one here, that stands for E energy and then small k, kinetic energy, k stands for kinetic, is equal to half m is mass, v is speed, v square. E is equal to half mv square. That gives you the kinetic energy. Let's do an example to see how we're going to use this formula. A car of mass 1,500 kilograms move with a speed of 20 meters per second along a road. How much kinetic energy does it have? So you write down the previous formula. E is equal to half mv square, and then put in the values. We want to find the kinetic energy in this case. So half times m. What is the mass? 1,500. What is the speed? 20. And you square that. And then you square 20. That will give you 400. And then you solve the formula. 3,000. What's the unit for energy? This is joules. Kinetic energy depends on two things. The speed, in other words, if that thing is faster, it has more kinetic energy. If it's slower, then it has a smaller kinetic energy. It doesn't have a lot of kinetic energy. The other thing is the mass. If something heavy is moving, that thing has more kinetic energy when compared to something lighter. If something lighter, very ringan, is moving, then it doesn't have a lot of kinetic energy. Now we're going to talk about potential energy. Potential energy is just another name for stored energy, and potential means stored. And there are a lot of different kinds of potential energy. We're going to talk about three in this lesson. The first is the elastic potential energy. This is the energy stored in stretch or compressed elastic objects. So anything that is elastic, like a spring, like a bowstring, like rubber band, it has elastic potential energy. And then you can have chemical potential energy. So this is the potential energy stored in the anything that is chemical, like fuel, battery, or food. And then lastly, you have something that's called gravitational potential energy. This is the energy stored within an object due to its position relative to the ground. So we're going to talk about this in more detail after this. So this is energy for objects at a certain height. Gravitational potential energy is probably new to you. So what is this energy? So this is an energy that something has when you raise the object. This energy is related to objects that are about to fall. For example, I have a ball here. When the ball is on the ground, it has zero gravitational potential energy. So GPE stands for, it's a short form of gravitational potential energy. But if I raise it above the ground, okay, now it has gravitational potential energy. So for example, now the gravitational potential energy is 100 joules. Okay. What does that mean? That means when I raise it above the ground, it has the potential to fall. Gravitational potential energy is related to falling objects, and that is what it means. Okay. Gravity causes it to fall. So if I let go of this ball, it will fall with the energy of 100 joules. Anything you pick up at a certain height has gravitational potential energy because it has the potential to fall. Now, GPE, gravitational potential energy, can be calculated using this formula. EG, the small g stands for gravitational potential. M is mass. G, this one here, is the gravitational field strength. And this is usually 10. We set this as 10. So we know the value of this variable. So we know G is 10 and H is the height. So gravitational potential energy is equal to M, G, and H. The car from example 4 is lifted by a crane to a height of 5 meters. How much gravitational potential energy does the car have? So you remember the car from example 4 before, it has a mass of 1,500 kilograms. So, okay, this car right here. So we want to know how much gravitational potential does it have. So let's use the formula. Eg is equal to mgh. What is the mass? The mass is 1,500 times g. G is always 10. So you don't have to check it again. If it's on Earth, g is 10. If it's on any other planet, then it's going to be a different value. But if it's on Earth, the gravitational field strength, which is g, is always equal to 10. And the height which is given to us is 5. So you calculate, and that is equal to 75,000 joules. Okay, so this is the gravitational potential energy that this car has when you lift it up. Now, gravitational potential energy depends on also two things. One is the height. So if the object is higher, it has more gravitational potential energy than a lower object. And the other thing that the gravitational potential energy depends on is the mass. A heavy object has a larger gravitational potential energy than a lighter object. To summarize, in this video lesson, we looked at the different forms of energy. Here are some examples of this. We looked at kinetic energy and its formula, that is equal to half mv square. And we looked at gravitational potential energy, and its formula is mgh. Kinetic energy is the energy for movement, and gravitational potential energy is the energy for raised objects. And then when you release these raised objects, they will have the potential to fall. The next part, we're going to talk about something that's called the conservation of energy.